Hello everybody and welcome back to Big Dan's channel. I am of course as always Big Dan and today I'm going to be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's. I'll admit this about it. I know about the lore a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's, such as the Bite of 87 and just some of the basic stuff, but I didn't really play the games a whole lot when I was younger. Like I knew of them because I had a lot of friends who played it a lot and told us a lot about the story, and I do find it quite engaging and an interesting one. If I'm going to be honest, the reason why I sound so mundane about this is because the big problem that the film has most of all is just it's quite a bit of a poor adaptation, to be honest. Um, the reason being is just because there's not a lot of elements of it where it sort of adapts the game into the film, if that makes sense. Like, I can speak nicely about some stuff. For example, the design of the characters. While and one of my friends agreed with this. One of the problems that with the characters, they do move quite clunkily because they made them more realistic and not like they do in the games. But they were quite nicely designed, and they do look like they do in the games, and you can very easily recognize them. And I can't really spot any design flaws with them, but the problem with it well actually, and as well I liked because he has the security cameras on all the time, and it does get mentioned near the start, sort of like there's problems with the electricity, but the problems I had with it was just the sort of lack of horror elements to it. Like there's one robbery at one point, and don't worry, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a robbery at one point, and it's like, you know what's going to happen, they're going to end up getting killed, as the characters are going to end up killing them. You can see it coming a mile off. But even so, it's what the rest of the film should have been. Like I remember the girl next to me, she kept saying like, "What's going on here? Like, what is this? What is this?" And believe us, that sounds annoying, but she was saying exactly what I was thinking, and I was talking to her quite a lot, quietly, of course, because it's a cinema. But like I was saying, like honestly, I agree with you. Like, what is going on here? Because there was so much that just could have done better. Like, there's literally a scene where they build like a fort with the child character in it, and all sit staring at the ceiling, and it's like, what film am I watching? Like, it gets to the point where at one point, one of them goes, she says something like, "I'm gonna go look for something in the locker," and I literally say, "Can she find us a gun so I can shoot myself in the face so I don't have to watch this film anymore?" Yeah, it just script wise and story wise, this was very poor, and even the pace, and I think a lot because of the story didn't feel great, and I was just ready for it to be over by the end. But I can admit those are the only real negatives I have for the film. For example, Josh Hutcherson, I know he does quite a decent performance here, which does bring me score up quite a bit. And there's a cameo by a few different YouTubers, not Markiplier, sadly, and that did upset me. And they are quite funny, even though they're only on for a few seconds, and it was quite a full screen, to the point that I don't think I've actually been in as busy a screen since I went to say something like Endgame 4 years ago. Yeah, it was absolutely full, this screen, and everyone burst out laughing at that. And I remember it was quite a nice vibe sort of around being in there. For example, I remember there was a guy, when the little age rating thing came on, he did the like, oh, 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 sound that Freddy does. That did get the entire screen laughing, so that was nice, being that little sort of community feel of watching the film. And there was people who clapped at the end of it, which, okay, for all I wasn't a massive fan of it, it is nice to see that there was a lot of people who enjoyed this thing. Josh Hutcherson had a nice performance. The gore wasn't much of it, as I said, but it was average. Maybe one kill here and there that was quite decent to watch. But yeah, there's not much more for us to be said about it, really. The opening scene's quite nice. I feel like that's again a lot more of what the film should have been, because it's about the past security guard. It is what the opening is. No, I wouldn't really consider that a spoiler. It's not massive sport or story detail. But yeah, that was quite nice of an opening. The first act decent, I'd say. I'd say it's maybe about halfway through the second one is when it falls down, and third one and last, still not great, but does pull it back a little bit, at least I can admit. So, it could have been worse, I suppose. And yeah, but other than that, It was hard to look for positives, if I'm going to be honest here, but I can at least admit the ones that I did find were sort of strong ones. So for those reasons, my final verdict for Five Nights at Freddy's is a 5 out of 10. If I'm going to be completely honest here, there was a lot of times where I was considering a score of about a 3 or 4, but the reasons that I did push it to a 5 was because, as I said, the positives that were here were strong, like Hutcherson's performance, and the cameos were funny, and there was some decent humour and gore to it, and when there was gore. But yeah, I was disappointed by this, I have to admit. It could have been much better than it was. It wasn't a good adaptation. And yeah, again, as well, the pace, and it dragged by the end. And yeah, it just could have been better, and it was a bit, and it was just very unrealistic to the games and parts, like them staring up at the ceiling at one point, like with the animatronics. It's like, what am I watching? But yeah, so as I say, it okay, but definitely a disappointment, sadly. Thank you for watching my review of Five Nights at Freddy's. If you enjoyed it, of course, as always, please press like. Subscribe if you want to see me with other reviews and other content that I do sometimes do. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.